Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new edition of Them Betting Fools. I'm your host, Alex Nevels, aka Young Nevz. This is my boy right here, Johnny, North Carolina, Norberg. How's it going, fella?
Good, good, man. You're doing good out there in Cali, living
How
the
about
life
you?
out here in Texas right now.
Traveled to Texas, huh?
Yeah, out here to watch the Cowboys get embarrassed. But yeah, we'll see what's happening.
Hopefully so. Hopefully you arriving in Texas and them going to Buffalo, man, it's gonna make for a very interesting game. We'll predict Buffalo and Dallas. We'll predict Niners, Cardinals on Sunday. We'll also give our take on what coaches do we think are going to be out and what teams, need new coaches. But we are going to start with our topic in the AFC. Who are you going to take? Kansas City Chiefs to go to the Super Bowl? Or are you going to take the whole field? Now, I'll start with this right here. But first, I'm going to give a shout out to my beautiful wife for putting up with me and for putting up all this beautiful design, and as well as my sister's flower farm, Rimrock Flower Farm. Quality flowers. If you can, go get some. They're in Montana, just a short flight away. Cheers.
Hey, there's nobody else that can put up with this fool besides Micah. So cheers.
Ain't that the
And she's
truth?
the best
So
editor, betting fools editor. What a beast.
she really is. She's a beast. So I'm gonna start Kansas City or the field in the AFC. So there are what 10 or 11 teams right now that are 7-6, above 500 or better in the AFC. So it's packed. But I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs to reach the Super Bowl, even though they have been sluggish. Like I said, 11 teams over 500, but there's a ton of injuries in the AFC. And do I really trust Miami? Well, Chiefs beat them in London. Uh, Steelers just lost to the Patriots. They're also a team that I believe is 7-6. Texans losing Tank Dell. Bengals losing Joe Burrow. Lamar Jackson and the Ravens losing Mark Andrews. You couple that with the Kansas City Chiefs. They're a top three defense. They've had injuries of late, and you know what? They do remind me of like almost back in the day when we watched Kings Lakers, and we watched the. It's almost like they turn it on when they want to. I think they're just kind of coasting right now. I know everyone's gonna say, and this is probably your argument if you disagree. All the Taylor Swift stuff going on, all the distraction,
She's
all
a
this,
curse. Yeah.
all maybe, but I think I just can't see Patrick Mahomes and them losing to, like I said, a Ravens or almost anybody because
Or
AFC isn't
49ers
as
in the Super Bowl again,
what's that?
probably. Or 49ers in the Super Bowl again. I don't see that. Yeah. It'll be tough, like another 2020 repeat over here.
Yeah, dude, it would be brutal for me. But for AFC wise, man, like I don't see it. I just don't see the field. If Ravens were healthy with Mark Andrews, possibly, but I'm gonna lean towards the Chiefs. I would bet the Chiefs over the whole field, and that's where I would go. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I agree with you, Casey. I mean, you can't doubt Mahomes, but something like when you watch them, and I know Sean Aldridge agrees, like something's just not clicking with them this year. Like the receivers have never been like elite, but Mahomes always finds a way to get it done. They have a better running game this year, I feel like, but for some reason that's not helping them out at all. Their defense has been pretty good. Like you said, they beat Dolphins. They held them to like a last ditch effort in London.
17, yeah,
And
17 points. Yeah.
yeah, which is like tough to do, even though freaking what just happened last weekend to them, Tennessee. But um, yeah, I mean, something just doesn't click with them for me. And I think like Sean Aldridge, especially that guy, yeah, I bet he'll look back at the end of the season when they lose and be like, I get, I get why we lost this year. Something wasn't right. There's something doesn't make sense, you know. And I'm gonna double down on my pick for from last week with the Bills. Like no one wants to see Josh Allen. I'm gonna say the same thing again because it's the truth. Like he's the guy. He's the true MVP. He's the one that's like bringing that team from slump to contender. And there's nobody like who's the team that wins every year. It's like the team that like has no fear. those guys have no fear. Like they don't expect to win it all. Nobody's saying they're going to win it all, but no one wants to see the guy I think is the MVP on the other side of the ball, and they got a good defense. I think they're going to be scary to face in the playoffs for sure. And like you said, Ravens, like Mark Andrews is big for Lamar Jackson, but I don't think it's enough to. They kind of play down to their teams a little bit. Like whoever they're
Yeah.
playing, I feel like they play down a little bit, and that's never good. Panthers have a history of doing that. I've watched it for years, and it made me sick to my stomach. And I see the same thing with Baltimore. And yeah, I don't see it being a recipe for a Super Bowl for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't trust the Bills, especially. Well, it's more of I don't trust Sean McDermott. I mean, if you look back to that playoff game, 13 seconds left, and they're up in the game. Like, Bills are celebrating on the sideline, and they give up two easy plays. They almost play way off the ball, and they're Kansas City's able to kick a field goal and go into overtime and win. I just, from that moment, I do not trust Sean McDermott whatsoever, and we'll talk about him later in the show. But I don't trust anybody from the AFC right now. I like Miami. They're my preseason pick to go to the Super Bowl against the 49ers. But you know, you kind of have to adapt to your situation. And Kansas City I didn't think their defense was going to be this good. And you touched on it well with Kansas City's receivers. They're not that great, but Patrick Mahomes makes them better. Rashee Rice looks really good. Kadarius Toney, although he had drops earlier in the year, and you have the offsides thing happen, those are correctable. And although that's a discipline thing, I think they just correct it and they find a way. Valdez Scantling he dropped a pass. So it's almost like these little things, drop passes, penalties that are just kind of killing them. And if they can clean that
So
up,
many drop passes. Yeah.
if they clean that up, Kansas City is going to be just fine. And I won't say they're going to cruise to the Super Bowl, but little things like that, they're gonna get back. So
Well, if they do get there, we know it's going to be a repeat 2020. I'll say that much.
it's different, baby. There ain't no
Niners gonna
Jimmy
get beat
G
down.
back there.
Yeah, we'll take
Missing
Mr.
throws.
Irrelevant. Yeah, okay, cool.
All right. Well, we'll move on to our teams that we select that we think are gonna have new head coaches, or we think that should get the teams that should have new coaches next year. I'll let you begin with this one. Who are maybe two or three teams, if not more, that you can add that they need a new change of scenery at the head coach position?
I mean, being a Panthers fan, I have to start out Panthers. We fired our coach. We're David Tepper again is an idiot. I'll preach that forever.
Preach
But
it all day.
yeah, we do have a solid defense. So we got something to work around, and he already wants to have an offensive minded coach. So I mean, someone like Ben Johnson in Detroit would be good.
Yeah.
But that being said, there's a ton of teams that have a decent defense that need an offensive minded coach. Like I just went to the Panthers Saints game last weekend in Superdome, and I just watched both defenses look great and both offenses look terrible, and they both need a change of pace somewhere or another, you know. And Saints are one of those teams for sure.
Yeah,
they
Dennis
need
Allen
an
ain't
offensive minded coach. Yeah.
Dennis Allen ain't it.
Yeah, no, he's not the answer for New Orleans. And then literally the whole NFC South, like they all need a replacement. They all need a change of pace. Like nothing's working. It's time to kind of progress and move on. And then also I would say the Bears, thanks to the Panthers getting all these draft picks, like they're still they have a solid defense too, and then they have all this potential in the draft to like make the picks that they need to make if they have the right guy to make those picks, like the right guy that can guide those players and get them to where they need to go with their defense and what's going on. So, I mean, Bears is a good one. And I'm just going to say this because he made me upset, but Mike McDaniel, that I just want to say, like, everyone's so high on this guy, and I am too. I love him. He's great. But something's just off. Like, I don't know. Like, he's the whole that fall apart versus Titans. He's just like, he's not taking any blame.
Mike McDaniel?
Hey, he's saying it's the whole team. Go
What?
listen to that. Go listen to it after like his after game interview. He just like that's the whole locker room. They all take the blame. He's not taking any responsibility. There's nobody's there's nobody's responsibility except for the coach. You got a player that's like a yard from the sideline, taking off his helmet, screaming at things, like giving you like you just stopped the team on a third down.
Too much of a player's coach, and that matters. Like, who knows? Maybe in 3 or 4 years you were on to something that nobody else was. Even though I think you sound crazy, and probably most people listening to this are going to think you're crazy. But
I mean, yeah, I agree. You're saying it perfect right there. Like I
yeah,
sound crazy saying it's like now that I've said it out loud and it's not written on paper, it sounds
yeah,
crazy. But at the same point, I'm watching that afterwards, and then that KC game and other. There's been other moments where I'm just like, it's just like it's too relaxed, like the
yeah,
whole thing, and it's and I feel like he should have taken some responsibility. Like there's no way you can dominate that game the whole time and then just fall apart at the end and not like take full blame as a coach that like the last 3 minutes of the game you're
yeah.
down, you're up two touchdowns and you lose the game and like you're not the one taking responsibility. It's like he blamed the whole team and he said the whole locker room except for him, which is just like it was just like a weird thing to say in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah, and it's Tyreek was in and out of that game, but that's no excuse. You're up 2 touchdowns late, less than
But
3 minutes.
why?
I think there's like no, I think he was injured in and out. I could be, I mean, unless there's
But
something
you
going
just
on.
put him in there, he still takes another guy from the defense. Like there's just like another, even if he's like he can't run his fast pace, like he's
Yeah,
still gonna take two guys away from the like everything. Like so what is he worried about? Like he doesn't have to go run, he could just jog out there and he's still pulling three defenders over towards him. So
yeah.
I don't know. That's it's crazy to me.
There's just no excuse for it. And I think I saw a crazy stat, like it was like teams were like, oh, and like 400 or 500 the last time they were down 2 touchdowns with 3 minutes left, which teams are a lot, and they've never come back. So it's like, yeah, it's just a really bad look. And they had the number one seed. So now the number one seed is up for grabs again.
Yeah.
You're basically, that's why in my last argument, like I'll take KC because you just like you can't blow a game like that. You're the number one seed. And home field event, you don't
Hmm.
want to go to Arrowhead. Nobody wants to go to Arrowhead. So
Yeah.
I won't get too off topic about the game, but yeah, you just kind of you lose it right there. And for you to say Mike McDaniel maybe at some point needs to not be the coach, wow, what a statement. But I will get to
Just
my
yeah.
I will get to my
Yeah.
picks. I picked about 3 teams. I'm going to start. Actually, I picked four. I circled three, but I'm going to start with the Oakland Raiders. That's my number 4 team, and I'll be quick. Everyone was excited that Josh McDaniels was gone, rightfully so, and I agree. But I see a lot of Raider fans saying Antonio Pierce is the answer. No, he is not. I like the attitude. I like the old school mentality. Hey, we're gonna be in his press conference when he first started saying, we're gonna be make people proud of this organization. We're gonna do it the Raider way, and we're gonna play hard. Hey, you know what? That's all cool and dandy. And guess what? After a game or two of all the adrenaline pumping, you saw last week they didn't score a point, and they lost 3-0, which is I don't care who you are and what fan or you're biased. That's embarrassing. You have Devonte Adams. You have playmakers on that offense. You have Aiden O'Connell. I know he's a rookie, fourth round guy, but that is just pathetic. No excuse for it. I'm not going to sit here and just grill AP because he's gone into a bad situation, but the Raiders really need to look, and all these teams that I'm going to list need to look at Jim Harbaugh, and you need to offer the most money, and you need to hope that he just comes to your team because he will turn it around in maximum 2 years, if not the next year, like he did with the 49ers. So Raiders are my number 4. Number 3, I'm going to go Washington Commanders. Ron Rivera, I do not trust him. I don't really like him as a coach. He's a good defensive coordinator, good defensive mind, but as a coach, I'm not a fan. You have Samuel Howell, 18 touchdowns to 14 interceptions, throws for a lot of yards. You have playmakers on that offense with Brian Robinson. He's due for 1,000 yards. He's on pace for 1,000 yards. Terry McLaurin barely gets the ball, and this is more offensive side. But like you said, these teams need uh, offensive minded guys, and you have a Washington defense that is really bad as well. So Ron Rivera is your coach. He's a defensive minded guy, and your defense is still bad. Whether
Mm.
you want to blame the GM, whether you want to blame whoever, your defensive mind, what's going on there? And maybe Eric Bieniemy takes over, who's the offensive coordinator there, who the offense doesn't look terrible, but there needs to be more of better defense, and maybe Bieniemy taking over would probably be best for the Commanders. Um, Number two, I'll go LA Chargers. And again, Harbaugh, he just fixes everything. Justin Herbert is not getting maximized. Um, Chargers always find ways to lose games. Since I've been growing up watching the game, like they just find ways to lose, whether it's field goal kicks, whether if it's when they ran into the Patriots, one year in the AFC Championship game. I mean, God forbid that, but they just
They've
find
been the
ways to
biggest
lose.
disappointment for
They
sure
they
this
are.
year.
They
Yeah.
had Philip Rivers, who's a competent quarterback. They have Justin Herbert. They have playmakers, and the defense is just average at best. Like their secondary is not good. They're always just underperforming every single year.
Yeah.
Like get somebody in there, and LA's good for a Jim Harbaugh, big personality, especially in that stadium. That's probably the match made in heaven. CB and I were texting on it, and CB even mentioned it. And I was like, yeah, Harbaugh just fits anywhere, but especially the Chargers. Like it makes too much sense.
Is it going to take a championship to get him out of there or what? Like this year? How's he? I don't
I
know if he
want him back
leaves.
in the I want him back in the NFL so bad. Now, obviously, as a Niner fan, I don't want to face him, but he's just good for the league. Like, get
Yeah.
out of college. Come back to the
Yeah.
NFL, and he's a great coach, and it's a great offensive mind, and not only that, but I just hope he doesn't go to Raiders. Come back to the NFL, don't go to the Raiders because the Raiders will be good again.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. That's tough though. It's like if I mean, Shortridge will know more than anybody, but it's like he wins a championship, Michigan. It's like how do you leave? Maybe you hit your top peak and then you want to come back and try again. But he seems to be working in college. So
Yeah,
it's hard for me to see him leave, but he would be if he wanted to be the most sought after coach, no doubt for sure.
yeah, and my number one team that needs to make a coaching change, even though you're hot on them, is the Buffalo Bills. Sean McDermott, like I said, that guy. We said we talk about it later. Well, here it is. That game where he blew it against Kansas City. It's almost like me as a Niner fan when I saw Jimmy G overthrow Emmanuel Sanders in the Super Bowl. I was like, I'm done on Jimmy G. He's gotten the defense got us here, the run game, the weapons, Kyle Shanahan's brilliance. Jimmy G just had to make a couple throws and we're probably Super Bowl champions. And look what happens. It's the same thing
Yeah.
now with the Bills. He had 13 seconds left to stop Kansas City, and look what happens. They can't do it. He just these coaches get into big games and they just find a way to fumble. Like you just play off of Kelsey and Tyreek Hill. Now, is it tough to still guard them? It is. They were dynamic when they had Tyreek Hill. But it's 13 seconds left. Like you really can't pull out a dub. Just the Bills are the number one team that need a new coaching change. I said it from that moment. I was like, they're never going to win with McDermott. They're going to constantly just hover around 500, maybe make playoffs, and then they're just going to lose. So Bills are number one for me. Chargers, those are pretty obvious, but the Commanders needing a new coach to elevate that squad, and obviously the Raiders always need help. So
Yeah.
as a Niner
There's
fan,
a lot of teams. It's an
there
open
is a lot.
market
There
this
is.
year.
I
Yeah.
could have picked other teams, but those are my four right there that are just like Bills and Chargers to get over the hump, Commanders and Raiders to get back in the mix and be relevant again for
Yeah.
me.
There's going to be losers too. People are going to pick the wrong coach again. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's going to be a weird year again next
And
year.
And I like wherever Ben Johnson goes. He's a really good offensive coordinator. He's turned the Lions around. Jared Goff looks really good. Maybe not as late, but overall in the big picture, he looks decent. And we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
But all right, we will go to predictions for Sunday. Cowboys, Bills, 49ers, Cardinals. I'll let you start with the Cowboys against the Bills. Big Sunday game. I believe it's in Buffalo. Who you got?
it's in Buffalo. Buffalo's -2 favorite, which is
Mhm.
crazy. Like, what would your prediction be? I should have asked you before I said what would your prediction be of like what the line would be if that was it. Like Cowboys Bills at like knowing that the home team gets like 3 points. Like
Depends
if
on
you just
weather.
had
It's
to
supposed to be
guess.
50% chance of rain. I might even just change my pick during because, okay, I'm going to do this scenario. If you put a gun to my head and you say, Alex, who's going to win on Sunday and what are the points? I'd say Cowboys 30, Buffalo 26. That's what I would say.
So you say Cowboys are 4 point favorites
Cowboys
or
are
something.
minus
What?
4 point favorites.
Well,
That's
I
what the
mean,
line.
with the
That,
-3, yeah, that's about. Yeah, I mean, you're not far off then, you know.
yeah,
So I think, I mean, you're right. If that's your prediction, that's it. Like, I just think it's so weird that Buffalo's favored in this game. Like, everybody's so high on Cowboys right now. It's just like it's hard to see a way that I always think Vegas knows something that we don't. You know, it's like
of course.
Vegas wants the whole world to bet Cowboys this game.
Yep.
So what? What's the outcome then? Bills win. Bills gonna win. They're gonna take it home. I'm in Dallas right now. I'm gonna go to the Live Center at AT&T Stadium and watch all the Cowboys fans cry themselves to sleep after they get embarrassed by a coach that's gonna get replaced by the future by all these people. Like, and I hope C Money's watching. Since he's not here, he's gonna be embarrassed at home sitting there, and we'll make sure he hears about it next time he
Absolutely.
decides to show up. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to go Cowboys. I had picked Buffalo before, but like I said, you put a gun to my head. And you know what? I think
I
this
talked you into
Cowboy,
Cowboys.
I'm
Yeah.
changing the Cowboys. Only they just understand Cowboys have that winning streak at home. This team just feels different with McCarthy calling plays. I don't think the defense is as good as last year. Obviously, they've had some injuries with Trayvon Diggs. Um, Leighton Vander Esch is out for the year. So this team they are going to miss those guys in key moments, and maybe Buffalo does exploit that. But Dak has played at a high level. There's a chance of rain usually, and this Cowboys have the better running game, but it's just a toss up. But I'll go Cowboys 30-26. I think that number one seed is very important, and they just find a way to win. It's not going to be pretty, especially if there's bad weather. And I hate to flip flop, be back and forth, but I will go Cowboys 30-26. And what's the score? What do you got?
I mean, I feel like it could be similar to like the KC game, you know, like kind of like on the lower end side, especially in the weather. So, I mean, I'll pick Bills like 24-17 to win.
I enjoy
So
I enjoy that
lock
pick.
it in, lock it in.
All right. And I like the Vegas thing because Vegas does know more. Cowboys, if Buffalo's -2, everyone's gonna think, oh, Cowboys are the easy pick, but Vegas knows something that we don't, and they're gonna think,
Yeah,
if we do that, everyone's gonna pick Cowboys. So let's have maybe Buffalo get them by a touchdown.
and I don't know this, but I'm sure Cowboys have to be like one of the top bet teams every week. So it's like I'm just
Yeah.
guessing that this is like a mindset that they're thinking. You know,
No,
it's like
no,
Cowboys fans got to be licking their lips right now. Like,
yep.
oh yeah, we're going to Buffalo. They think we're going to lose this game. Like that just doesn't make sense.
And
Vegas knows.
a lot of fans they get emotional and they want to just bet on their team because they think their team is going to win, but they don't look at the scenarios and the weather, and you know they just get too involved, and I don't know.
Yeah, it was the same thing last week. I was talking. This is Prager bets right here. This is Bill's going into KC. I think KC was like -1 favorites. You know, it's
Yeah.
like giving them 3 points at home, which basically is saying Buffalo's a favorite. So it's just one of those bets. Like Vegas knows something. I mean, granted, there was some crazy stuff that happened in that game, but um, for the most part, the outcome is the outcome, and it is what it is. So I think Bills 24-17. Let's
Book
go.
it. All right. We'll go to Niners Cardinals. I'm going to start with Niners Cardinals. This feels like a trap game. I'm going to pick Niners. Now, last week I told some people, hey, I think it's going to be close to Seattle because we embarrassed them Thursday night. It was close until kind of the end. We ended up winning still 28-16, but I did feel like we dominated Cardinals. I mean, it's tough to not pick Niners. Like, I think Niners are going to win. It's going to be
Yeah,
34-19. Like, this team's too good. The only thing I do worry about is it being a trap game, but I think there's just too many vets. They're too focused. I just can't see them losing. 17-0 when everyone's healthy. The main weapons, Debo, McCaffrey, Ayuk. When you have Trent Williams in there. There are a couple guys that could be out. Dre Greenlaw, I heard, is going to play, but he hasn't practiced all week. Aaron Banks and who's the last one? Eric Armstead's not going to play. So, I mean, those guys matter, but I think we just have too much strength in numbers. I hate to use that term because it's a Warriors term, but I think Niners just get it done. They win 34-20. Nothing too sexy about this. And if we lose, could be very daunting. So we got to win out to get to stay on that one seed, and we know how important it is. What do you think?
yeah, yeah. I mean, you're right. They're missing players, but still, they're 12-point favorites. So I mean, whatever that
Yeah.
means, take it as you will. It's like it's hard for them to lose. And I've honestly decided that this podcast is half about just praising the Niners this year for some reason. Why are we talking about this game? This game, dumb, dumb, dumb.
Yeah,
Niners, they're gonna win this game. It's fine. I hope they lose.
I'm biased.
Actually, I'll predict they lose. I'm gonna predict it. I'm
Oh
gonna
God.
change mine. Yeah,
All right.
Arizona, 27-23. Lock it in again.
Lock it in.
Lock it in. But I mean, I'm more excited, honestly. All kid aside, like that game, I think is pretty well put out there. But I think the Cincinnati Vikings game is kind of like more interesting one. Two teams 7-6.
Mm-hmm.
They're both kind of battling to get in. They both got backup QBs that weren't expecting to be there. It's going
Yep.
to be interesting seeing that game. I'm excited to see that one.
Yeah, I want to see how Jake Browning does. The kid from Folsom, who's right up the road from us in Sacramento, who's from Folsom. He's put together
Yeah,
a couple of good games. Even Joe Flacco. I know we're going to kind of just talk about everything NFL right now, but like Flacco, with Cleveland and that defense, Flacco has experience. I know he just got off the couch and threw for 3 touchdowns, but hey, like when you have a really good defense, offensive line, and a run game and some weapons, I mean, you can go far in the postseason. Cleveland Browns
yeah,
are kind of that team that you never know, man. It doesn't take a lot of points if you have a great defense, and the same thing with Bengals. I mean, they're not a great defense, but they're a good defense. And you have Jake Browning. You don't know what he is. You don't have tape on him, so advantage to him.
yeah. You said Browns too because they were plus 4,000 to win the AFC championship last week, and then
Mm-hmm.
after another Flacco showing, they dropped to plus 1,600 or gained to
Wow.
plus 1,600. So
Yeah.
they shot up, and the Jags dropped way down, and the same thing for the Bills too. There's confidence in the Bills now too because they were plus 2,500 last week, and now they're plus 900. So people are listening to me. Vegas is listening to me. They understand the Bills are going to win it all.
Interesting. I like the takes. I like chopping it up, talking about the game.
Yeah.
It's been real. Those are our thoughts on Sunday. Who needs new head coaches? And KC versus the field. Cheers, Bubba.
Cheers, man. Betting fools.
Betting fools. Them. Betting fools.